Alrighty, I would like to start by welcoming everybody in this room. We are so excited to be here today. My name is Natalie Herpin. I'm the president of the Spring Branch Democrats Club, and we are absolutely honored to be co-hosting this with the Houston Progressive Caucus. I'd like to thank our three candidates that are here today. So thank you very much for Dwight Boykin, Alejandra Salinas, and Jordan Thomas for joining us. We are excited to hear all about your platforms, and thank you to everybody who submitted questions for today's forum. We appreciate you. This is how we get to know our candidates better. I'd also like to thank today Commissioner Briones for providing security and allowing us to be here in this wonderful space. Before we actually get started, what I am going to ask everybody to do is look on their chairs. You are going to have a lovely little sheet with this QR code. My incredible Vice President, Gabriel Fuller, right there in the back, put a ton of hard work into making an incredible voter guide for you. This is a go-to spot. Make sure that you scan the QR code and take a look, educate yourself, and even better, send it to all your friends. We want to make sure this gets out to everybody in Spring Branch and beyond. So share away, take that sheet, hand it to a friend, text the QR code link to everybody that you know. And lastly, before I turn this over, I want to give a very big thank you to our board member from last year, who is still a member of our club today, who has generously offered to moderate this forum. Thank you to Diana Martinez-Alexander for being here today.
Hello, everybody. On behalf of the Houston Progressive Caucus, we'd like to welcome you to our City Council at-Large debate for this year. We started the Houston Progressive Caucus because we felt after the election in 2024, we felt like Houston is missing a voice that's talking about the issues that are facing working class folks as the cost of housing increases, as the cost of childcare increases, the cost of power increases. Working families are feeling out of control as the rich get richer and the billionaires get super wealthy. And so we wanted to have a space to talk about these issues, and just want to thank our partners who helped us in all of that, the Harris County Young Democrats, the Spring Branch Democrats, everybody, the media, organizers, volunteers, candidates, everybody, thank you so much for your effort in putting this forward. And just want to also say, in terms of our vision for Houston Progressives, is this has just been the first 6 months of our existence. In that time, we held a forum with over 800 people to push Dan Crenshaw because of the fact that he voted to defund Medicaid. That's not acceptable for working people. We protested the mayor outside of this house for said fundraiser for the congressman, because that's also unacceptable in a time when working people are getting screwed. And so we created this forum because we want to make sure that Houston's candidates will speak up for working class economic issues. And so thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions at all, we have an audience question guide that we will, I think 3/4 of the way through, we are going to be getting started with those questions. And so we will review every single one of your questions and just try and make certain that we can get to as many topics as possible. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our moderator. I'll introduce our moderators really quickly. First, we have Diana Martinez-Alexander with the Spring Branch Democrats, Carisha Rogers, and Anthony Rios. So thank you to all of them, and without further ado, I'll turn it over to Diana.
Perfect. So here's how today will work. Candidates will have 1 minute for opening and closing statements. For moderated questions, the candidate asked first has 1 minute. Other candidates may respond for 1 minute each. The original candidate then has 30 seconds to rebut. Time will be strictly enforced. Audience and influencer questions will close us out, followed by brief closing statements. Anthony Rios and Carisha Rogers from Houston, Texas Progressive Caucus have also offered to serve as co-moderators and timekeepers.
I will be holding up this piece of yellow paper when there's 30 seconds left, and then this red piece of paper for time. I will allow you to finish your thought, but if you fall into another one, we will have to interrupt you so we can keep this process moving. Candace drew her seat order and go clockwise in that order, and closing statements would go counterclockwise. So opening statement would be Jordan, Alejandro, Dwight, closing would be Dwight, Alejandro, Jordan.
And now it's time for our candidates' opening statements.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you all for having me. I'm going to have plenty of time to speak today, but I see there are a number of candidates in the crowd that were not invited to speak. I'm going to divide my time between you evenly. Could you raise your hand if you're a candidate? I'll let you introduce yourselves.
And Jordan, I'm happy to give my time as well, so they have our 2 minutes.
Great.
Hi, my name is Chris. I'm running for Houston City Council at large because we're not imitated. And the drives me insane has since I was a kid. Since I was reporting for the Houston Defender, when I went to Jack Gates, we have to understand the process in order to affect the process. So that's the number one thing I'm looking at. And then as we talk about community, we're talking about micro businesses that are carrying our communities. We're talking about barbers, we're talking about cosmetologists. They don't get as much attention as so-called small businesses. So supporting them.
Okay, so if we're gonna do that, I'm gonna ask the other candidates to bring.
There's more at joinchris.com.
I'm gonna ask the candidates to bring themselves to come up. Like, the other candidates that are the councilors, please make their way forward, please.
Hi, my name is Ethan Hill. I'm on the steering committee for Recall Houston. I've spent the past year or so working house with Mayor John Whitmire. It's cooperating with ICE and other stuff like that. It's funding police, extensive social services, infrastructure, drainage. We gotta get our city council back on track because they don't have balls to stand up to the guy. My name is Ethan Hill, and
Good morning, I'm Dr. Catherine Taylor, and no, it's not my word. I actually went to school for it, and I say that because in Houston, people are not understanding. My office is off at Antoine. I serve all 5 counties, and I've been doing it for 30 years, 28 years of multifamily. I do domestic violence, human trafficking, veterans, and also I have 200 people in hotels that I fed this morning and 3 times a week. The apartment complexes all around Houston. I work over 392 nonprofits, and they're in the community. You don't see my signs, you don't see anything, because there's too many competition that are not showing the actual boots on the ground. They're giving millions of dollars to, I don't know where they live in the homeless, but I interviewed 5 homeless yesterday, and they were in a shelter yesterday that the mayor is bragging about and on the street today. They're in our community. If we don't actually, they sit there and say, we're doing resources, I am the resources. If you love Sheila Jackson and all of them, I am the resources she actually reached out to.
I want to do one last call for any other candidates running for District 4. They would like to introduce themselves. All right, good, thanks. All right, if you're doing it stepping forward, with that said, I would like you guys, candidates, to please take one minute to introduce yourselves. Thank you.
I apologize for that disruption. My name is Jordan Caucus. I started my career as a community organizer, mostly in the healthcare division, organizing new unions from scratch. I then went on to become. Sorry. It's hard. You guys hear me? Because I'm hearing everybody back there. Okay, great. I was the chief of staff of 2 city council members, Amanda Edwards and Dr. Letitia Plummer. Today, I work as a project manager building major infrastructure connecting our nation's power grids. I'm running for Houston City Council because I don't see my voice represented at City Hall. I think Houston is at a crossroads. We can continue to do business as usual, be a petrochemical city that sprawls out forever, or we can embrace the future and the job of the future. You got really, this room echoes a lot. Everything you said, you can hear it. Unfortunately, up here.
I'm gonna try without the mic. Can y'all hear me? Yes. Great. My name is
my life taking on big fights and getting things done. I was a national youth organizer for President Barack Obama, and I served the past 8 years as a trial lawyer, now partner at Session Godfrey. We're taking on some of the biggest companies in the world and won. I'm running to bring that fight to City Hall to make sure that all of us, no matter who we are treated with dignity and respect. And you don't take my word for it. Our campaign is endorsed by the most Democratic elected officials, organizations, and labor unions, including the union that is striking right now for Hilton America. Just this week, they announced their support to our campaign. They know we are the best candidate in place to fight for our values. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Dwight.
Why don't you step over here?
Yeah, that's the purpose spot there.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for having me. Let me thank Mr. Barones for having us in this beautiful building. I want to thank all the organizers that put this together. My name is Mike Boyd. For those who are not met, I served on Houston City Council with two different mayors. Major hurricane disasters in the city, budget deficits, the whole 9 yards. The experience I have with taking me to this position, ready to hit the ground running, with no training needed. I understand how the city operates. I understand the agenda director, help direct where we're trying to take our city issues. You can have all these bold ideas about what you want to do, but you gotta understand you have to have a relationship with the mayor, the city agenda director, and your colleagues on city council. I have that experience, and I understand how to bridge coalitions between Democrats, Republicans, Independents to get your city services addressed. Again, my name is Dwight Boyd. I'm an independent thinker who's going to do right by people.
Okay, so we'll start with the first question for you, Mr. Thomas. The Hobby Poll's #2 concern for Harris County residents is the high cost of housing. 15,000 renter households became cost burdened last year, according to their study. That means that they're spending more than 30% of their monthly income on housing. Homeowners insurance spiked by 18% last year. People are being priced out of Spring Ranch. What is your solution to making Houston become more affordable for both renters and folks wanting to become homeowners?
Thank you for the question. The problem that we face is that we are not building the type of housing that we need for the types of people we need most. The Tinder Institute does a great job of tracking data. If you look at the type of housing we're building, it forms a bell curve. There's not a great amount of housing being built, at least amongst us. There's a great deal of housing being built still in us, and there's not a lot of abundant housing being built. People who afford abundant housing end up in class B housing, pushing people out to afford that. All the way to I have a plan. Guys, it's impossible to do this when there's a full conversation behind it. So can we just please respect the process?
I would like, just going forward, please sit here, please have a posture.
They want you to sit down.
That's you asked me to sit down.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, and also, please use the mic to help us.
Yeah, he was talking to us.
Okay.
So you're good on time, please. Let's go.
Thank you. Well, we have, I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought now. We have, thank you. I got you. Yes. So what we need to do, I have a plan to use two different vehicles that we already have, the Houston Land Bank and the Houston Land Trust. These are two different types of affordability. The Houston Land Bank helps people, first-time home buyers with down payment assistance. The Houston Land Trust helps people buy the land itself by owning it, the land, and the people own the property itself. This gives permanent affordability. There's another group that I'm working with that I've heard about rather called the Agape Group. They're using recycled housing, so housing that would have been deconstructed, demolished, pieces would have been thrown in the trash. They're upcycling that and creating new homes and building affordability. So these are three different models that we have to decide which is going to be best for Houston. Thank you.
absolutely agree with Jordan that we should be using the Houston Land Bank creatively, and we should be working with all of our partners at the state, federal level to figure out how we can best address the affordability crisis we have in Houston. But I also think we should be thinking about some of the practical things the city can do to make housing more affordable. So one example of that is permitting. Making sure that we make the permitting process as streamlined as possible to cut down on those costs so they're not being carried on to our homeowners. We should be figuring out how we can thinking about affordability not just for those that have the most need, but also thinking about the affordability for the middle class, making sure that our teachers and our firefighters are not priced out of living inside the city of Houston when they're servicing the city, making sure that we're thinking about all those communities and partnering with our state and federal partners to figure out how we can bring some of those dollars back to the city of Houston. But I think there's a number of things the city can do. We should also be creative about the way types of initiatives we're doing. For example, the Livable Places initiative. We were thinking more creatively about how to use smaller pieces of land for development. Those are all great ways the city can take practical steps, not necessarily cost-effective steps, to make livability and affordability improve for all Houstonians.
During my tenure in Houston City Council, we approved opportunities for what we call TERS, is, for those who may not be aware, tax income reinvestment zones, to purchase lands, delinquent properties owned by the city of Houston. And so they put them in what we refer to as what the LAR lots, or land trust. They came later, but LAR lots, and it would allow people to build affordable houses on those properties at an affordable rate. Now, back then, affordable rates were $125,000, $130,000 a home. That home today is now $200,000. How do you reduce the property taxes or make it more affordable for apartments? And the simple reason, and the simple way you do it, when developers come to us and talk about supporting the tax credit, that the council member and the state legislator or your state rep have to approve, we have to make certain we have some type of tool in place to be able to say, if you receive this credit, you would have to reduce a percentage of your units by this amount of money. That's the only way you can do it. We can have all these great ideas. That's the only way it's going to work. Yes, sir.
Houston is facing a structural
Do I
deficit.
get a rebuttal?
You weren't mentioned.
But I thought if that question went to me, I get a 1 minute rebuttal.
So sorry, to clarify, so we'll get 30 seconds.
We're fine with it.
You're fine?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Something was mentioned that's very important. Dwight, you mentioned the terms specifically in District D. This is one of the most corrupt terraces in the city. No, it's true. The executive director who was over that program that was buying those lots was accused and is under federal indictment for stealing $8 million in the District D terms. There's a higher concentration of vacant lots in District D than in any other stretch of area in our city. There's 5 million square feet of vacant land in Third Ward alone. They've been buying those lots for 20 years, and they have not developed half of them yet. They spent $22 million to build an empty office building on Emancipation Avenue. These are dollars that were given to the public trust, and we've seen no follow-up on those things.
Dwight, you get 30 seconds.
All I want to say is, please verify what you say before you make those kind of statements. You were a city council aide. You were not a council member. You didn't know what was going on with that, Jordan. And now lawyers dealing with that. Be careful what you're saying, sir.
So the Houston Chronicle doesn't know what they're saying, but they reported in their paper.
We are going to go on to the next question.
So Houston is facing a structural deficit. And our residents feel frustrated by rising property taxes, higher costs, and economic inequality. It is generally understood that property taxes and sales taxes are some of the most regressive forms of taxation, so they fall most heavily on those who are poorest and working class and middle class. How will you ensure that the top 1% pay their fair share of Houston taxes?
And Kevin, before you answer the question, we will clarify. If a candidate's name is mentioned, they have 30 seconds to reply. Okay, that's how we're going. Okay.
Can you repeat that question?
I can't.
The acoustics here are really bad.
Okay, sorry. So Houston is facing a structural deficit, right? And it's generally understood that property taxes and sales taxes, which are in large part used to fund the city as well as fees, are progressive forms of taxation. Houstonians feel that property taxes are too high and that living costs are rising. How will you as council member change the taxation system so that the weight falls more heavily on working class, on wealthy,
Who first?
and less on middle class and working class people?
Good question, Anthony. I was on, I think my third year on city council. We had some people coming up talking about the property tax, cut the city tax rate, the entire approach to reducing taxes. And I listened at the first public session. The following week, the group came back. And you know what I did? I did my homework, Anthony. I held up my tax bill. I said, everybody talking about cutting city taxes. Look at the rates. HISD, the community colleges. That's where the rates are. But everybody want to cut the city, and we provide you police protection, ambulance, trash, all the services you need, but they want to cut us, but not cut the one that's taking your money. Okay, and you compare our rates, and I'm not trying to justify our rates to other cities, but you compare our rates to Chicago, New York, we're not in the level where we are taxing our residents. Nobody want to pay high taxes, and I get that. But go to where the source is. It's not the city. We have issues in our city that we need to be dealing with drainage, street issues, crime issues. But I can tell you, look at your tax rate. Look at the three, and you'll see the difference. It's not the city of Houston. I promise you. But the revenue cap is killing us. Let me just tell you that now.
So I agree with Dwight that our city pays a far lower tax rate than most major cities in America. Obviously, that is still a burden for folks, but we have to live with the reality that we're not bringing in enough revenue. And I think a good way to tackle that is think about other sources of revenue that we can be looking at as a city. One of the main things I want to fight for if I'm elected is increasing the resources we put towards grant writing. Right now, this Department of Public Works does not have a dedicated grant writer. There is not a grant coordinator in the city. As a result of that, sometimes we have departments that are both applying for the same grant. We are losing out on potentially billions of dollars that other cities like New York, LA, and Chicago are fighting for because we're not making those meaningful applications. So I think figuring out additional sources of revenue to bring to the city is another way that we don't have to increase the cost on those who cannot afford it.
The tax burden is felt the hardest on working class people because of our pattern of development. 670 square miles of sprawl has produced higher maintenance costs than what the tax base can currently afford to support. The solution to this is density. We need to build much more housing, and we can start with the lands that the city already owns that are lying vacant. In addition to that, we can change things in our code of development to make housing cheaper for people. What I mean by that is what we can do is get rid of minimum parking lot requirements. We can get rid of single stair building codes. So right now when you design an apartment, you have to have at least 2 stairs. This means a larger footprint, it means more material, it means higher costs, which means higher rents for people. These are things that other cities are doing that we can do immediately to lessen the burden on working class people.
Okay, so our next question goes to Ms. Linas. What is your view on President Trump? Is he an opportunity or a threat to Houstonians? Follow-up. By Axios Houston indicated that deportations in Houston are focusing on undocumented non-criminals who have never been charged or convicted of a crime, with the rate of these folks tripling in deportations. How do you view your duty to respond when ICE or the National Guard are sent to Houston and they harass law-abiding U.S. citizens and undocumented folks?
So this issue is very personal to me. I have to stand to speak about it. My great-grandfather came to this country from Mexico. He started off as a janitor in a meatpacking plant. I'm only here because of the American Dream story. And I learned recently that one of my relatives, who is a U.S. citizen, was detained for several hours. It is unconscionable what is happening right now in this country. What ICE is doing it's not in any way what is acceptable. And I, as a member of City Council, I will stand up every single day and speak out against it. We cannot just stay silent in the hope that President Trump will not come for Houston. He will come for Houston, and we need to be ready to fight. We need to be ready to fight strategically. We need to be ready to bring lawsuits and making sure that we're doing everything we can practically to move the ball forward. But I will always stand up and speak out against the atrocities that we are seeing in Washington and in Austin. But we have to be practical about how we can do that fight. I think there's opportunities to work with the police department to try to do the right thing, but we have to figure out what we can do within the limitations the state has put on us with the horrendous laws that they have passed in Austin that preclude us from taking many steps that cities in other jurisdictions and liberal states have been able to take. But I will always stand up for immigrants, undocumented. They are the base of our community.
Donald Trump is a major threat. Worse than that is the silence that we're hearing from City Hall on this issue. At first, we were hearing that the HB is not collaborating with ICE. The Chronicle released a whole bunch of evidence to the contrary, and then the thing that we were hearing from the police department and the mayor is no comment. That means we're collaborating with ICE. There is a general order that was written by the police in 2020. It's called General Order 500-05. You can look it up. It says undocumented immigrant status in and of itself is not a matter for police action. It says unlawful entry into the United States is not to be treated as an ongoing crime in the presence of a police officer. We are ignoring that order that is on the books. You send me to City Hall, I will codify that into law. I will not remain silent while this happens. This is not just going to happen to undocumented immigrants. It is coming for anyone who has contrary views to this administration.
Let me just tell you from a city's perspective. First of all, we are the most diverse city in the country. And there are different walks of life, different relationships. You have interracial marriages. You have everything going on in Houston, unlike any other city in the country. There's no reason that this White House, I'm gonna say this White House, because I'm not gonna call the guy's name. This White House should be in the middle of breaking up families for political reasons, period. It's not just the Hispanic community, Haitians who look like me, they dealing with this. There's no reason from a city's perspective, and I would never support it, from a city's perspective, what we can do, we handle the city's budget for the police department. If we find out, or I find out, and I'm assuming the other council members will feel the same way, find out that money is being used to support an initiative by this administration to separate families and do what they're doing and enforce this ICE policy, I would not only stand up against it, I would take a strong position publicly against it.
Can I please respond to that? Because the truth is important.
The question was directed.
It's important to say.
Well, no.
The candidate is saying things
Close
that
by saying this, that it's really important that we examine initiatives like the Violent Crime Task Force that has not just been announced for Houston, and what that means in terms of law enforcement cooperating to swarm neighborhoods. And we have to be vigilant, and we'll move on.
All right, this one's part of metro infrastructure. Says the city of Houston has much less white rail and much less bus frequency.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Can you maybe say it to us and then
Yeah,
you can say it in the mic for them, because we can't hear when the microphone is used.
The city of Houston has much less light rail and less frequency compared to Los Angeles and Chicago, both tier cities. Additionally, the current administration is ignoring funding allocation for public transit made by previous Houston bond elections. Do you think the city of Houston should have a light rail system comparable to peer cities? And if so, what is your plan to achieve this?
Well, I think, first of all, you're absolutely correct, but what you have to do, Chris, is not play politics. Understand how it works. Look at the previous bond election, or the last one the Metro Transit Authority issued. See, had it expired, have the projects under that bond plan been completed, okay? If not, if it's a continuation for additional rail, you need to make certain that that rail is being designed and constructed, okay? So you gotta at least know the facts on that end. But you're absolutely correct. Our city is growing. People want to come to Houston, you guys, and they're coming every single day. And we're talking about, brothers, Super Bowls or whatever we bring you, you gotta have mass transit that makes sense. and I will continue to take a position on that. I served as a voting member on the Houston-Galveston Area Council for 2 years, and I got a chance to see how a regional transit system works. And we need that in the city of Houston, and as your council member, I would definitely take a position on supporting that and hoping to get back on the Houston-Galveston Area Council, just to understand when the federal funds come, what they plan on doing to Houston. Thank you.
So to answer your question, absolutely. Metro dollars should be spent on public transit. And again, we should be thinking about how do we solve this problem that we're facing in the future. I think Councilmember Ramirez's proposal of having some council oversight and whether or not the mayor can cut projects is a great step in that direction. It ensures that when the council comes together and decides that we should fund a project, it takes the council to reverse that. And this is for any mayor, making sure that we're following the will of the people. So I strongly support that initiative. I believe public transit is critical. I've made West community activists to understand how important it is to have reliable and frequent public transportation. And I will be a strong advocate for that on city council.
Councilmember Ramirez's response is good but insufficient because it doesn't deal with Metro. The artistry in the mayor's moving these things onto Metro is that he can say, I'm not doing this, Metro is, right? So the way that we can do this in the city is to require that every street project has to preserve the right-of-way for all BRT lines that were included in the 2019 Metro Next referendum. That every street reconstruction project that happens along a Metro route also includes an upgrade of bus shelters. So we have to codify these things into law, because right now what the mayor is doing is he's pushing it on Metro. Metro has become a street paving agency. Things that Public Works used to do, Metro is now doing. I recently participated in a race against the Metro train. The mayor changed the signal priority of the red line and all the trains going through downtown. They took a 3-minute trip and made it into a 10-minute trip. We were walking with people in wheelchairs and we almost beat the Metro rail line. It was once the most successful line in the country. It has now been made dysfunctional. We need to stand up to that.
Okay. Centerpoint has never been more unpopular with City of Houston residents. It bought millions in unusable generators and left Houstonians stranded without power for weeks last June. Is it time to consider heading back to a municipal entity like Houston Power and Light that focuses on the needs of Houstonians versus investors in New York City?
So to provide some clarity, we need a municipally owned entity.
Yes, like we used to have.
To do.
And that would be, it would go to Salinas, I believe.
Oh,
So I agree what Centerpoint has done is unconscionable. And I've spent the last nearly decade of my life fighting greedy corporations. So I know something about it. I know how to hold them to account. I've had them pay over $1 billion for taking something that is not that they don't deserve and taking advantage of people. And so we need to figure out how to hold Centerpoint to account. But we're also under constraints by the state government. Many years ago, Houston used to be able to regulate its electricity. But the state took away our power to do that, and now it's under state control. And so all the city can do right now is approve or disapprove of a rate, and then it goes to the state. I think we should fight back for that local control to allow us to hold Centerpoint to account. But until then, our best efforts are spent on Centerpoint is using the bully pulpit of council to build awareness about what's going on and working with our state partners, including 6 state representatives have endorsed my campaign to fight to bring back municipal control, but it's going to take state action to make the change that we want to see here in Houston.
So this is my industry and I've looked into it. Municipalization is probably the most expensive thing that you could do to the ratepayer, the taxpayer, because you have to pay Centerpoint to acquire their assets, and those charges are going to get tacked on to your electricity bill. So all over the country, people, when they're dissatisfied with their utility, they try to municipalize. When they do the math, they realize they're going to end up paying even more. I think that the state needs to step up and do its job on this regard. One of the things that utilities don't get paid for is the maintenance of the trees along the power lines. So if you're walking your neighborhood, you'll see trees are hanging almost on top of the power line. If they were able to get a rate of return just for doing basic things like maintenance, I guarantee they would do it. On the batteries, one of the things I've looked into that other cities are doing is they're contracting with their ISDs, their school districts, and they're using electrified buses that can actually double as batteries. So that way the ISD gets an asset, and in time of a storm, when those buses obviously aren't being used, you can deploy those into communities as backup generators.
Thank you. Is it on? Can you hear me? Okay. The echo just kind of threw you off. Full disclosure, my wife was the first and only African-American lawyer Houston Electric Power ever hired. So when I make a statement, I want to be clear in case anyone tries to fact check why I did what I did. On city council, I had an opportunity to approve or disapprove 3 rate hikes by CenterPoint Energy. They present them every year or every other year, and they were not approved due to whatever reasons members of council had. But I can tell you this, I give them credit for responding after one of the worst devastating hurricanes we had. If you look in your community now, what they're doing is going around putting up metal poles instead of wood poles with the transformer. So hopefully that will cut back on, electricity going out if we have another storm. But one of the things I wanted to do is that I will do and want to do as a council member, but I couldn't get the mayor during that time to approve it, to get generators and place them in all 50 plus multi-service centers throughout the city of Houston. And so when a hurricane comes, and just have them ready, generators, extension cords, gas cans, the whole 9 yards. For those people in those regions of the city that need help, they can go to that multi-service center and get a generator right then and there instead of having to wait on CenterPoint or anyone else. As an at-large council member, there will be something that will coordinate with the county commissioners to make sure we hit multi-service centers in areas where community folk can reach to those generators ASAP. Thank you.
Top concern of Houstonians is frustration with broken roads and sidewalks. How will you work to repair roads and repair sidewalks?
In 2011, there was a concept called Renew Houston put together. A group of engineers talked about addressing street and drainage by capturing revenue. They called it a rain tax, a revenue that was used only for that purpose. I was part of that as a non-engineer. I helped campaign and we passed it. We told the voters that we would take a portion of your money, again, based on impervious cover, to do street and drainage repairs, new streets, new drainage. Not take that money and use it for salaries and other things, which happened. Fast forward, some of the mayors used that money inappropriately. It was the engineers sued, the money came back, and now Whitmire give him credit for not appealing, for allowing that fund to build back up to fix streets and drainage in our community. And that's what I would support, and that's my number one priority, protect that money, to make sure that we get street and drainage repairs throughout the city and not just overlay blacktops. Real street and drainage that's gonna make our communities safe. Thank you very much.
We need to make sure that we're putting the resources towards our streets and sidewalks. This is one of the foundations of my campaign. We need to get back to basics as a city. The government people interact with most is local governments. The street you drive down and a pothole for a family can be the difference between fixing a tire and paying for rent. People shouldn't have to make their choices because the city is not investing. We need to put those dollars to work, and we need to do so strategically and making sure that we're prioritizing what Commissioner Ellis fights for worst first. Not just repaving the same street or roads that we've repaved many years before, but looking to the communities that have never had the city's attention. And as an at-large council member, I will be uniquely positioned to do that, to focus on those communities that have long been ignored. I will always be a champion for them, but we have to fight for those state and federal dollars to help support and provide the resources to do that. And the city has to make the commitment, like Rebuild Houston. I'm glad we settled the lawsuit. We're going to bring those drainage dollars to fix our roads, making sure that we're doing so in a strategic manner. So we're not ripping up a road to fix the street and then 3 months later doing it again to fix the infrastructure below.
I feel like I've walked back into 2019. We keep talking about the drainage fee as if it's working. One thing that we know from that drainage fee settlement that's been quoted twice now is that it's still not being fully funded. And as a part of that agreement, what they're doing is considering the work that the TERS is due as a part of the overall money. So we're still not getting the full amount. They're counting work that TERS is due. The city has no control over towards drainage. I was a part of a group that got together with some lawyers and wrote an amicus brief to that judge who made that decision and said, hey, we need to relook at this. On sidewalks, there's 3 approaches that we can take. One is something Abby Canyon is doing. She's actually saving costs on sidewalks by, when sidewalks are uneven, she's having Public Works to shave them so that they're even for people who use strollers and use wheelchairs. Secondly, Denver just passed a referendum. They had the same laws that we had. Homeowners had to take care of their own sidewalks. They said, we're gonna raise our sales tax by $150 a year, so not a month, a year. And they were able to completely redo a whole bunch of their sidewalks. These are some interesting approaches that we can take that I've been willing to work with the mayor.
I just want to correct something, Jordan. You said that we're not talking about the drainage fee. As you know, the settlement was just reached a few months ago. So obviously, it has not gone into effect
I
yet.
really want to make sure you get audience questions, so please work with me.
I've got to respond to that because that's not true.
It is not true that the settlement just went into effect a few months ago.
The first part is true, the second part is not.
Guys, please, I want the audience, the community to talk to you guys, please.
So, the last question from us, and then we'll turn to audience questions and others. Working class custodians are struggling with rising costs and stagnant wages, and small tweaks often aren't enough. Name one bold, visionary policy you would champion to dramatically improve life for low-income residents. For example, Harris County recently approved a pilot to send $500 per month to 1,900 working poor families, essentially a guaranteed income program. Would you support an idea like that, or do you have another big initiative in mind? Please be specific about your idea and why you believe it would work. Let's see, Mr. Boykins, I believe you started last time, so Jordan.
What? I'm sorry, again, with the microphone, it's hard to hear. Can you say it?
Working class custodians are struggling with rising costs and stagnant wages, and small tweaks often aren't enough. Name one bold, visionary policy you would champion to dramatically improve life for low-income residents. For example, Harris County recently approved a pilot to send $500 per month to 1,900 working poor families, essentially a guaranteed income program. Would you support an idea like that, or do you have another big initiative in mind? Please be specific about your idea and why you believe it would work.
Thank you. So, I think I'll give 2 examples. I think that the economic data is clear. We are probably going to be facing some sort of crisis very soon. I was at the city when the pandemic broke out, and we thought we were going to have a 2-week crisis that turned into a years-long crisis. One of the big bold things that I was pushing there was for a moratorium on evictions. We couldn't get it done. We didn't have Prop A then. A lot of people were against it. There were only a few people that were for it. I was fighting for that. I think we're going to face a moment coming up pretty soon where we're going to be talking about bold ideas like that again. Those are the types of things that I will support in crisis. I think right now we could do a couple of pilots, but there's so much that needs to be restructured in our budget before we can do bold things. We can't pick up the trash on time. There are packs of dogs running around on the side that people live. I think we have to improve people's material lives first, and then we can get on to bigger things. But we'll have an opportunity, I think, coming up.
So I'm so honored to support. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
Mr.
yes.
Boykins.
Ladies first, go for it.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you. So I'm so honored to have the support of the Texas AFL-CIO, which is a coalition of labor unions in this city. And they speak for the working class, and they know that I'm going to fight for practical solutions to try to make the city better for all Houstonians. And I think one tangible thing we can do on city council is fight for more equitable wages for our workers, not just for our first responders, who certainly deserve it for everything that they have done for us, but also for the trash people that pick up our trash, the people that go pick up the debris after an accident, making sure that they're all equitably paid and given an opportunity to advance, and also thinking thoughtfully about how we're going to integrate artificial intelligence and how we're going to use it in a way that doesn't replace workers, but supports what they do to support more efficient city services. So that's one way I think that we as a city can make sure that we're supporting working Houstonians and making sure that the ones that we work with and see every day are treated equitably and with dignity.
Let me just say, my tenure on city council, Top came down maybe every year, but 3 or 4 times with the proposal to make certain that we had funds set aside, discretionary funds, because you can't use tax dollars, to help support programs. The city is a little different than the county and the state in terms of how money is going to be spent. We also, as a district council member, where I served 6 years, use money for what we use called after-school funding. So you can find a legitimate nonprofit and shift money to those areas to help kids like myself when I grew up with after-school funding. I just want to be real clear about something. City Hall is a serious job, you guys. This is something you have to commit to. This is not just a good sound bite at a debate or at a TV commercial, whatever you get. You got to have people that's committed, that know what they're doing, to go down and serve you and the citizens of this city. Because we're going to face some tough challenges. During the hurricane, I was down with one of the mayors at Transtar, and I heard that the freeway was flooding in my area. I left the press conference, got in my truck, blocked the street, stood in the rain to make sure no one else got flooded. You got to be serious about helping the people in the city. And I've done it, and I have a track record of proof that I've done it.
All right, so now next we'll be taking questions from members of the media and social influencers. So if you can just come up and ask your question.
Hello, I'm Evan Anthony, opinion editor of the Houston Chronicle. I had the pleasure of interviewing these candidates yesterday as part of our editorial board endorsements. But this is an event hosted by Houston Progressives, and so I think something people in the audience would like to know is how do you bring a progressive agenda to City Hall?
Let me start with you, Jordan.
If you go to vote.thomas.com, you will see a platform that you've probably never seen out of a city council candidate before. I think I've written the most progressive platform in the most detail of anyone who's probably ever run for this office. I'm working towards moving us towards urbanism, towards density, towards things that have gone out of vote with this current administration. It's something you're going to have to fight for. One of the things I heard in the editorial board conversation yesterday was no one really had a disagreement with the mayor. The question was asked, what is this mayor doing well, what is he not doing well? 2 of the people there didn't identify anything he was not doing well, and the other person, rightfully so, said that they didn't agree with what he was doing on homelessness.
That was me, Jordan, so don't mistake the record about what happened yesterday.
Please allow me to finish.
Yes, you were the person that said you didn't have a problem with homelessness. 2 of the people said the mayor wasn't doing anything wrong, and you said that you had an issue with homelessness. That's right. I didn't think I was misstating the record there. I do have serious problems with the direction that this mayor is taking, and I do believe his agenda is anti-progressive. So I'm going to go there and fight for progressives.
So I think the word progressive can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. But what I believe is having a platform and having values that mean we're going to fight for all Houstonians, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from. And that's what I'm committed to doing on this race. And I'm committed, and what I try to do with this campaign is listen. Listen to community leaders, listen to people that are working all walks of life, listen to our police officers, listen to organizers, and understand that the issues that matter to them most. And that's how I shaped my campaign platform. And what those communities told me is that they wanted safer neighborhoods, affordable and reliable city services, and a strong infrastructure, and practical ways to get there. And that's the kind of coalition I tried to build over this campaign, of elected officials, organizations, groups that know that we're going to work together to build a coalition when we get to council. This coalition doesn't end in my campaign. It's just the beginning. Together, we're going to work together to make the city better. But the only way a council member can do it, because I'm only one of 16 up there, is by building consensus and coalitions. And that's what I try to do my entire career in politics and the law, and what I bring to council to fight for all Houstonians.
Let me, and what I'm about to say is to verify. Let me set the record straight. I have the most endorsements of the business community average with the community of a couple of union endorsements. I have the most crossover endorsements of people throughout the city. I don't have to talk about it on the website, I can see it. But let me tell you what I did, not what I plan to do. When I became a district council member, I was one of the few that took on an initiative called the Second Chance Program. I brought in opportunities for companies, and I said they cannot meet with me if you don't participate in this program. Over 6,000 people came to the Georgia Brown to my program, and we gave opportunities for them to change their lives. Now, I know everybody in this room is perfect, but I know some imperfect people that a second chance to change their life, and they did. And then when I got off of council, I created a program called the Seniors Assistance Fund. But this is what I would do as a council member at large. One of the 5 positions I would have would be a slot set aside for a second chance person. That person will work for 12 months, move into an agency, and bring another one in. And then another one in, and then another one in. That's what you call giving an opportunity. Oh, thank you, sorry. Chris, you got to hold it there.
I just sorry. Yes.
I am April Towery with the Houston Press, and you all touched on this briefly, but is there any specific decision or policy that has occurred under the Whitmire administration that needs to be undone immediately? And how can you, as one person, go about doing that?
Well, is it on?
Go ahead.
Okay. It's kind of hard to say what needs to be undone, because you have 16 council members working with you, have an agenda to recommend that. What you do is disagree with it, and you can look at better ways during the budget cycle how to reintroduce an amendment to it or whatever you need to do. But to undo it is kind of tough to do, to be honest with you. And I think Mayor Whitmire, in my opinion, I've been serving with 2 mayors, has come across as trying to do the right thing, whether he's doing it or not, and not make it political. When I served with Mayor Parker, whether you agree with her or not, she did what was right. I had a chance to serve with Mayor Turner. He was a little bit more forceful than Mayor Parker was. What I see in Mayor Whitmire, from my back row, because I'm not at the horseshoe, is a mayor that's allowing the council members to be creative to work with them. So I'm not going to say that we can say we don't undo what he's done. They may know something that I don't know.
So one issue that is difficult for me is the unhoused crisis. I commend the mayor for pushing for a housing first initiative. I think that's exactly where we should be spending our dollars. But where it goes a bit too far is jailing people for being unhoused. I grew up with a mother who had mental health and addiction issues. And I can't imagine having to battle those issues while being unhoused. I think it is unconscionable to put people into those positions. We should provide housing first. We should not be jailing those people, as everyone in this room knows, it is more expensive to jail them than to give them housing. And so I would hope that we can find a better solution to this problem, where we put more resources into supporting that community rather than penalizing them.
I completely agree. I think this is an issue where you and I have no daylight. We have about 2,000 beds for the homeless throughout Harris County, and we have roughly a 3,000 homeless population that we count every year. So the idea that we would put forth an ordinance to effectively criminalize them before we solve the missing beds is unconscionable. Also, there's one more thing that I disagree with at that time here. The text messages that came out between the mayor, the TERS board members, and some of his staffers are a very disgusting thing to me. TERS boards are supposed to be independent. They're supposed to be driven by community. They're supposed to be driven by what community wants. The influence, the manipulation that's happening there is something that is, I think, awful for the highest elected officer in the city. We need to codify something in the law that really gives her independence from the mayor's influence.
Yes, so my son.
Excuse me, can you just, oh yeah, so we can hear you, yes.
One of the largest homeless encampments in Houston was recently cleared. What metrics and benchmarks do you propose the city use to measure progress towards eliminating street homelessness? And how would you differentiate between efforts that displace the population and efforts that tackle the root cause?
So, as I said at the end of my last comment, it's the beds. You have 2,000 beds, you have 3,000 as homeless people. We have to go back to a housing first solution. The Parker administration was a national model of how to solve homelessness. And she did it by beds and wraparound services for people. One of the things that troubles me of these conversations happening around the city about the homeless is that they're viewed as a broad category as one thing. These are people who have mental health issues. These are dangerous people, right? I took my son to the Midtown Park recently, and my son's all of 1.5 years old. And he starts chatting up with the middle schooler there. And the middle schooler is, going back and forth with gibberish to him, and I watched the middle schooler walk back to his parents. And his parents are holding bags of probably everything they own in this world. And that child is homeless. And that's the person that we're not talking about. That's the person who isn't getting a face in this conversation, right? So that's the facing I start off with when I think about this issue.
The metric that matters to me is how many of those people are in stable housing today. It's not how many people are we housing for a night, it's not how many people are we housing for a week, but how many people are we able to help give them the tools they need so they can be self-sustaining. Because that's the real solution. And I agree that Mayor Parker's approach was revolutionary and has become a model for the nation. We should go back to it, of supporting housing first and making sure that we give them a space where they can find stability, they can get the resources, they can get job resources, they can get mental health resources, they can get rehabilitation resources. But the metric that I'm going to care most about is 1 year after we've provided those resources, do they have stable housing? And if not, then we need to go back and reevaluate because we're doing something wrong.
You know, this is a very serious issue and it's impacting the entire city of Houston. We had a chance to ride down to San Antonio myself, one other council member, police department, fire department, to look at, I think the place is called Haven for Hope. And I encourage you to look at it online. The short of it is this: wraparound services with rules. You have to have check-in rules. This is the concept. A high school, elementary, that has a fence, a playground, classroom, showers, kitchen. Each room would have some social services. For those who choose to not want to use the rooms for beds, can sleep outside, they can sleep in the courtyard with security. But you're taking steps to get yourself right with job opportunities inside. The rule is you have to check in. The problem we're having in Houston, and that was downtown San Antonio. Most schools are in our communities. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that in their community. So how you deal with that? So recently I was told that the city of Houston is about to roll out 200 new beds to deal with homelessness. But let me say this to you real quick, and I don't have to speak again, but I do, this is very important. We gotta understand there are 3 levels of homelessness, and we all put them in one. And there are people who can use services that choose not to, but to make your quality of life uncomfortable. And we have to separate the two now. I mean, sir, and it's not about arresting.
That's fine. Okay. All right. Last question, and we'll start with Ms. Salinas. Will you bring back Hero like a Hero 2.0?
So I'm obviously LGBT, proud. My wife is not here today. She's out organizing. I absolutely support Hero if that's what the community wants to do. We know right now that our rights are under assault in Austin and nationally. And if community leaders want to push for Hero, I would 5,000% be behind it. I would be honored to help sponsor it, and I would work very hard to build a coalition of council members to push for it. As long as that's what the community wants, and they feel that's the best way to move our community forward. But absolutely, I would be supportive of it.
the Charlie Kirk shooting in terms of the community that was being targeted and accused of being a part of that. Without any evidence to show, they were saying the shooter is trans, and they found the gun. They said the bullets are trans. And they found the roommate. They said the roommate is trans, right? There's a clear attack happening. And this is connected to all of us. In the midst of that media fervor, when they were blaming the trans community, someone took it upon themselves to then make bomb threats against 6 historically black colleges, right? So we have to begin to see ourselves as one community. The targets, I've given the same as what's happening with the ICE raids. They're targeting one community to build an apparatus to target a broader community. And so we have to stand up whenever we see these things happen.
Thank you. For those who follow the city, I recall you guys earlier saying that you guys been in existence for a few months, if I recall, but back in 20, maybe 13, I can't remember the year, we had a HERO ordinance at the city of Houston. And out of the 16 council members, when it was originally rolled out, only one council member was not supporting the ordinance. During public sessions, people come up and try to gauge where the council members were. And no one showed their hand, but no one, other than one council member, was going to have made it clear they were going to vote against it. When it got to, as I say, from here at the beginning to here when it was passed, it became something totally different. I voted no. I just want to be clear, everybody hear me. I voted no when it got to this point because they talked about people in the community, pastors and community folk who had a problem with it, whether it's true or wrong, subpoenaing their sermons out the churches. And I said, you can't do that. So what I offered was this. Hang on first, because y'all cut me off a little bit. What I offered was this, to reintroduce a non-discrimination ordinance on HERO. And when Turner came there and talked about it, it never came back up. But somehow somebody is taking this for a political reason, trying to set the whiteness against discrimination in HERO, which is not true. But you cannot disagree with someone and try to penalize them because they disagree. You got to give them the right to do that. And that's why, as a new council member, if HERO comes back up, I'm going to be a part of negotiating it, make sure it's fair to everybody, that nobody's discriminated against, and we will get it passed.
Just to note, these are questions from the audience.
Ma'am?
The question that was asked is from the audience, okay? All right, second question. A lot of people see that the city council job is a part-time job, and they want to know how much time are you going to invest in doing the city council work? And we can go ahead and start with Councilman Boykins.
Thank you. Well, I guess my record would show that with my tenure as a part-time council member, I built 2 grocery stores in my district, which took a lot of time, a lot of travel. I helped sell the city's municipal bonds, which required me to travel back and forth to New York. I helped create a seniors assistance program to help seniors with minor home repairs at no cost to repair 607 homes. And also created a second chance program to help those who need second chance. It's a full-time job. They say part-time. Trust me, it's a full-time plus. Every constituent in my district that wanted my cell phone had it. And I will tell my staff this. When they call my office and have a question or have a concern, Jordan knows this. I will tell them, leave the message. They elected me, not you as a staff. I go to your house. I go see what their constituent needs are. That's what you hire me for. If I can't make it, I send a staff. I take this job very serious because being from the city, this city has been good to me. I don't play politics, you guys. I'm going to tell you like it is, and I'm going to do what's right for the people in the city, regardless of your party affiliation, your race, your gender. I'm going to do what's right to help the people in this beautiful city. I call home. Thank you.
Okay, now that you mentioned Jordan, you have 30 seconds.
And the question is...
you can respond.
He called you your name.
He said my name?
Yeah.
He can say it again.
All right, who's next after that?
I'm fully committed, I think, like everyone on the stage, to the role. I have no doubt that I will put in time and effort, just like I've done in everything in my life. Whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a political organizer, I've always put in the work to make sure I got things done for my community and the organization, and I will bring that type of commitment and hard work to the city of Houston.
So obviously I've served the at-large board office before, or chief of staff, so I'm hyper-work time commitment. What I didn't get to say in my opening is that yes, I've been a union organizer, I've been a chief of staff, and now I'm a project manager working on the electrical grid. My entire working life has been committed to people's material gains and progress. I love this job. It is one of the best jobs that I've ever had. I think that serving in local government is the government that matters the most. It's a passion project of mine, and I'm going to approach it with passion.
So we very kindly appreciate you guys coming, but we know you guys have busy schedules, so we have one final question, and it's going to be a little bit of a fun one. So we're actually going to let you guys choose to ask one of your fellow candidates one question, and you're going to have time to respond. So I believe Dwight went first last time, so let's start with Jordan.
I have a quick one. Can I ask both of them?
Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, why not?
HOU or HTX?
Jordan, I'm a consensus builder, so I'm going to say both.
Both.
Dwight, what have you enjoyed doing most on this campaign?
Getting to know how smart you are.
Sweet. There we go.
A question?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't.
I'll take this time to say my answer is always HOU.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so as we close, we're going to go with Dwight, Alejandra, George, in closing statements, please. 1 minute, please.
Okay, thank you all so much. Carissa, let me also say what I failed to say earlier. Thank you for what you did, taking a stance and want to make a difference running for Congress. And you bring us I'm not butting up to you, but I want to say that earlier. I am butting up to you, No, I'm just teasing. Let me thank you all for putting this on. I look forward to win this race and work with you. I ask you to invite me back out. You may agree with 100% of the things I say, and you may not. But understand, my heart is into this. Nobody will tell you that White Boy is not committed to making a difference in the city of Houston. The difference between me and most people that serve is I'm not a politician. And I've made it clear. Everything I told the residents of District D when I campaigned I was going to do, I did it. Plus some. And we'll do it again. I take this job very serious. I put in the time. My wife and I have been in Houston for a very long time. The city raises me. And I've done good about the city. I need your support. I respectfully ask for your vote for White Boys. Again, thank you all so much, Caucus, for putting this on and inviting me.
First of all, I want everyone in this room, give yourself a round of applause. You are here on a Saturday morning. You all could be anywhere right now, but you are here because you care so much about our democracy and the city, and I think that's amazing. And that's what I have loved most about this campaign, is meeting everyday Houstonians who care so much about the city and want to make it better. I am in this race because I've spent 20 years taking on big fights and getting things done. And I've done it by working incredibly hard, learning what I need to learn, and building consensus and fighting when we need to fight. You have my word that I'm going to stand up for our values every opportunity I get. And again, don't take my word for it. Many of our strongest progressive champions in the city have gotten behind this campaign. I'd be so honored to have your support. But thank you again for being here. It means a lot to me. It gives me hope that despite everything going on in Austin and Washington, we're going to take this country back because of the people in this room. So thank you all.
What I love about people who call themselves progressives is that you are, by definition, in league with the future. You are looking at the world not as it is, but what it could be. And I've always viewed myself as one of those types of people, one of those types of leaders. We've got a lot of challenges in this city, and we've got a lot of people who have a vested interest in keeping things as they are. I'm running because I want to lead into the future. I, like you, I think, can see possibility in this city, and I want to bring it out to its fullest. My name is Jordan Thomas. I'm running to be your next councilor. Thank you.
Chris, y'all take a picture real quick. That's everybody. Hold on. Chris. Anthony.
Gotta go.
Everybody get a picture with us. I'm just trying to make sure y'all can see. Take a picture.
Good to see you.
Evan, thank you again, man. Thank you.
All right, so we'll go.
Neil, can you do me a favor?
Sure.
Okay,
Good to see you. Thank you. Sure.
On it.
Okay.
Thank you. I will sit up there and call them up.
Thank you,
Yeah, so you're against
Can someone get the microphone?
how do they turn it back? Howdy, you doing all right, Mr. Thomas?
I'm doing all right.
So, what do you think about that, Joe? With the red line downtown?
We've got to make things back to how they were or better. Prioritizing cars downtown makes good sense. I used to ride the red line every day.
Right, how would you feel